Hey guys, I'm Gail, and this is 10 things you need before camping in below freezing temperatures. So I've been solo camping and taking friends and groups of people camping for a few years now, and I have camped in every single season. I don't care what temperature it's gonna be. If it's possible for me to get outside, then I'm gonna try and get out there. The coldest weather that I've camped in recently was around 3 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -16 Celsius. And yeah, I'm just a big lover of nature. I love this beautiful earth that we live in, and regardless of how cold it is, I want to experience this earth. So I love getting outside, and I love also empowering other people to do the same. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first item on my list is a properly rated sleeping bag. My favorite winter sleeping bag is a 20-degree down bag that I actually got off of Amazon from a company called Mountaintop. And my bag is specifically meant for backpacking or lightweight trekking. So it came with a compression sack, which means it gets really, really small. I mean, once my bag is fully compressed, it's probably about this long and probably about this wide. My sleeping bag gets really, really small if I really compress it well with the compression sack. It's also pretty affordable. So I got this Mountaintop 20-degree down bag. I think I got it for under $120, which as far as down sleeping bags go, that is a really great price. It's comparable to the Kelty Cosmic down bag, which is also another great option if you're looking for some sort of lighter weight sleeping bag, but that is comfortable and will keep you warm and has natural down in it. I prefer down over synthetic. I really recommend either Mountaintop or Kelty if you're looking for a fairly affordable but warm sleeping bag. Number 2 on the list is the correct bedding layers. So you want to make sure that you have a good sleeping pad, or if you're gonna put a blanket over your sleeping bag, anything like that. So usually in the wintertime, I either will sleep in my car if it's gonna snow, or I will sleep directly on the ground. I know that this is a controversial opinion in the outdoors world, but I'm not a huge fan of tents. I would much rather prefer to just sleep straight up on the ground if I'm gonna be sleeping outside. I really love sleeping directly under the stars and being able to see the stars, and I've never really had a good night's sleep in a tent, but some of the best night's sleep that I've ever had while camping was literally just laying my sleeping pad directly on the ground and then sleeping in my sleeping bag on top of that. And that's it. So that's my own personal experience and my own personal opinion. It doesn't mean that that is fact or that it's true for everybody else. I also live in Colorado, so a majority of camping season is pretty dry. The summer through fall months is not a super rainy time of the year for us, so I'm not often concerned about staying out of the weather because in the mountains in Colorado at that time of year, the weather is pretty mild, so I don't really feel the need to have a tent. Whereas people who live in the Pacific Northwest or people who live on the East Coast, they might experience a lot more rainy weather, and so they need a tent in order to stay dry at night. But I don't ever really encounter rainy weather. Actually, I think the only time that I've ever been rained on while camping was on a backpacking trip, and it was my last day, my last hiking day, and I think there was a little bit of rain. But for the most part, I don't ever encounter weather, so I don't feel the need to have a tent. I do use an accordion-style sleeping pad. It's just one of those sleeping pads that folds up. It's not a blow-up one. I own a blow-up one, but I don't really use it very often. I like the convenience of the accordion pad. I also can sleep pretty much on any type of surface. I'm not super picky, and so I don't feel like I need an added layer of comfort that the blow-up pads offer. And for me, I feel like the accordion pad is totally sufficient. So I have one of those accordion style sleeping pads. I think I only got it for maybe 30 bucks at Walmart, and it gets the job done just fine. And then I usually will sleep with my sleeping bag on top of that. And then I almost always layer a camping blanket over my sleeping pad. I do this for a few different reasons. I really like just being tucked in and being extra cozy, but also because I use a down sleeping bag, I want an added layer of protection against any precipitation that might gather on top of my sleeping bag overnight, especially when I'm sleeping in my car. My breath and my body heat in my car will make there be some precipitation in my car in the winter months, and I don't want my down sleeping bag to soak up all of that extra moisture. And so I'll put a camping blanket on top of my sleeping bag once I'm in my sleeping bag, just to protect my down sleeping bag from any of that moisture soaking into the feathers. Number 3 on the list is correct accessories. So this is a beanie, gloves, a neck buff, headlamp, things like that. So for winter camping, I always bring a beanie. I have 2 beanies that I rotate between for the most part. I have an REI member beanie that I got a few years ago, and I have a little fuzzy beanie that I crocheted for myself just a few months ago actually, and it also keeps me really warm. I bring warm winter waterproof gloves. And the reason that I bring waterproof gloves is because, especially in Colorado, the chances of your campsite having snow on the ground is very high, and the chances of your fire pit having snow inside of it, those chances are also very, very high. And so I always bring waterproof gloves so that I can dig out my fire pit, dig all the snow out of the fire pit so that I can use it for a fire. I also bring a neck buff, one that covers my neck, but that is long enough that I can pull up over my nose. I'm a skier, and since I'm a skier, I just use one of my skiing neck buffs. It works the same for camping and keeps me just as warm as it does while I'm skiing, and it's also comfortable for me to sleep in. I typically bring 2 headlamps when I'm camping in the wintertime. When I'm camping in the winter, I'm not trying to camp lightweight at all. I don't mind bringing multiples of the same thing, because chances are I'm probably gonna sleep in my car anyways, and my car has plenty of space for me to put a few extra things. And so I bring 2 headlamps when I go camping, and this is because in the wintertime, battery life just depletes way faster because of the cold, and so I have an extra headlamp to use as a backup in case one of them dies. Number 4 on the list is clothing and layers. So when I'm camping in below freezing temperatures, I have a very specific outfit that I wear almost every single time that I go camping. I wear an REI base layer polyester and wool blend long sleeve shirt. I have a Melanzana lightweight hoodie that I wear over that, and then I have a very large warm comfy fleece that I throw over all of that, as well as I wear a base layer pair of leggings, and then I typically wear a wool pair of socks. However, when I sleep, I typically take most of those layers off. This is for a few different reasons, but because I have a nice warm down bag, my sleeping bag, and most well-made sleeping bags are designed to trap your body heat inside of them. And so if I'm wearing a ton of layers in between my body and the sleeping bag, it's harder for the sleeping bag to trap my body heat in because there's not as much of my body heat escaping through my clothing into the bag. And so typically when I'm sleeping in very cold weathers, I won't wear any pants, I won't wear my fleece, I might not even wear my Melanzana, I might just wear my base layer shirt and my buff. I will wear socks. I don't wear my gloves when I sleep, and I will most of the time wear a beanie when I sleep. And I know that this works. I've done this before. Actually, I think one of the most recent times that I went camping, the temperatures plus wind chill ended up getting down to close to 0 degrees. And I actually was really nice and warm in my 20-degree bag. And even after stripping layers, I was warming up even more, to the point where I was like unzipping my sleeping bag to let some cool air in because I was getting kind of hot, and was like peeking my face out of my sleeping bag to try and cool my face off. So yeah, less is more when it comes to sleeping in the wintertime for sure, especially if you have a good bag that traps your body heat well. Number 5 on the list is firewood and starter. This is for if you plan on having a fire. Obviously, you should be smart and check fire bans in your area. In the wintertime for me, there's always snow on the ground, and so there's not any fire bans in place because everything is wet. And since everything is wet in Colorado in the wintertime, I always bring my own firewood if I'm gonna make a fire, and I always bring something to use as a starter. So I have little starter pods that I have bought from different places. I have a pack that I bought from Walmart, I have a pack that I bought from REI. They're just these little balls of wood chippings, flammable little bits of things compacted into little balls, and I just throw them into the bottom of my pit and then put my tinder around them, light the fire, light the tinder and starter pod, and then slowly as I'm building the fire, place my wood on top of it. And I typically buy my firewood from Walmart. It's just really easy to run through Walmart really fast on my way out to my campsite and pick up a few packs of wood. It's super cheap. It's just wood and it burns. Number 6 is a camping stove. So I use an off-brand Jetboil as my camping stove. It's a single burner, little propane fueled camping stove. It's from a brand called Fire Maple. I also got it on Amazon and I haven't had any problems with it. It works the same as a Jetboil, it does the same things as a Jetboil, but for a fraction of the price. So I really recommend bringing a camping stove, and if you're gonna be camping in cold weather, make sure you bring cold weather appropriate fuel. So at REI, they sell specific propane fuel that is meant for below freezing temperatures, and that is the fuel that I bring with me when I'm winter camping. Number 7 is know how to take care of your electronics in the cold. So when it gets really cold, I said earlier that batteries drain so much faster, and this means that you need to be prepared for potential electronics dying overnight or even during the day if it's below freezing during the day. So I always sleep with my phone inside of my sleeping bag as well as a headlamp inside of my sleeping bag. Because my sleeping bag is trapping my body heat, this ensures that my phone and my headlamp aren't getting really cold and losing all of their battery when I'm sleeping. I also typically put my phone onto airplane mode or low power mode in order to ensure that it doesn't die while I'm asleep. Number 8 is to be prepared for every liquid to freeze overnight. If you know that you're the kind of person that wakes up super thirsty in the morning or in the middle of the night, then I would recommend also keeping a water bottle in your sleeping bag with you, because otherwise it will be frozen when you wake up the next morning. Number 9 is to bring some sort of warm liquid. I usually bring stuff to make a chai latte in the morning after camping. I am the type of camper that is like the mom of the camping group, so I love to bring either instant coffee or some sort of tea option or chai latte to make for everybody that's at the campsite with me. And it's just so nice to wake up on a cold morning and have a nice warm drink. I know some people also bring a soup that they can heat up to have the next morning, or maybe oatmeal, just something warm. It's really comforting after a cold night and really just improves your camping experience. Number 10 is finally to bring a good attitude, to show up to your campsite with just a deep awe and wonder of this beautiful creation that's around you. I have a rule for myself to have fun and to be grateful, because I really believe that our mindset can wildly impact our experience when we're in the outdoors. And being grateful for every small thing just radically improves your camping experience. Even in times when maybe you realize you forgot something or something goes a little bit sideways or not the way that you planned for it to go, being grateful and thankful and recognizing the blessings that you have around you improves your experience so much. So get out there, go camping. It's possible for anyone to do, even on a budget, even for a single girl like me, and it's so much fun and it's so much worth it. And you only learn by doing.